Well, folks, welcome to Living News episode number 4. We're glad that you're able to join us today. And my name is Johnny, and my co-host today is Corine.
Hi, everyone.
So, we'd just like just to share this with anyone that you have or any of your friends. If you're on Facebook, just share with them at this time so they can see it as well.
All right, wonderful. As some of you probably know, this coming Tuesday, the 8th of March, is the International Women's Day. And I love their mission statement, if I can share that with
Yeah,
you.
go for it, Corine.
It says, to assist women to be in a position of power to make informed decisions about their health. And I'm so excited today because today we want to do exactly that as well. We're going to do things a little bit slightly different. We actually have a doctor, a female doctor, who we're going to have a live interview with.
Looking forward to that.
Same. And also a female author who's going to tell us all about some very resilient women. So it's a great program. Thank you for tuning in. And yes, I hope that you really enjoyed and be blessed by it.
Yeah, and Corinne, just want to let the audience know that we've got some people in the background on Facebook and YouTube. If anyone wants to make a comment, that will come through to us, and we'll try to reply to it if we can. And especially while we've got the author and the doctor interviewing as well. If there's anything that you want to respond, you can do that too. So thank you very much. We're going to go straight into our first segment, which is living well. And during this segment, we're going to be interviewing a doctor. So I would like to welcome Dr. Roman. Hi, Dr. Roman. How are you?
Hello,
Good
Dr.
evening. I'm
Roman.
very well, and thank you for inviting me in your studio. And happy Sabbath.
Oh, thank you. It's just it's a pleasure to have you with us, and thank you for taking the time out. I know doctors are very busy people, so thank you for taking the time out to spend some time with us this evening. The first question I'd like to ask you, Dr. Roman, is why did you decide to become a doctor? I mean, there's a lot of other careers out there. Why doctor?
Being a doctor is an honor and a responsibility of a lifetime. I feel that a doctor is not a profession, but a life out of a profession. I always enjoyed helping people feel better. Mm-hmm. And the satisfaction of helping lives goes far beyond the feeling of anything. So my journey in health started as a nurse. I worked for about 8 months as a nurse, and soon after I realized I wanted to keep on moving forward to become a doctor. Just the field of medicine was really fascinating to me. But I had a problem. I was worried that becoming a doctor can move me in a direction contrary to God's values, like pride or greed. So I made a deal with God. I will start pursuing my career in medicine, but God would only allow that door to open if saved for my eternal salvation. And He would walk with me in the journey of helping the pain and suffering. You see, the temptation of feeling prideful over our achievements is always present. But we are to feel assured that only with His aid we can reach our potential to help and bless those around us.
So true.
Yes, that's true.
Medicine has taught me lots, has taught me perseverance, diligence, hard work, time management, organization, teamwork, problem solving, patience, and I can keep going. If you can read Proverbs 31, I think I can understand myself better. I'm not pursuing a career. I'm just pursuing God's kingdom and using these gifts to do so.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Thank you very much for that. And Dr. Roman, there's being a doctor, I know there's lots of different aspects of being doctors, like gynecology and all the, brain surgery, neurosurgery, or oncology, all those type of things, aspects of being a doctor. What part of being a doctor, what do you like most of being a doctor? Or what area
Um,
of doctoring do you like most?
yeah, well, I worked quite a few years in gynecology and obstetrics, which really fascinated me. But I had to make the decision of changing my thoughts because of the lifestyle I had. I would work lots of nights, and um, my boy was left with his father. So I thought it's time to change, and I've got a different orientation. So I chose family doctor or GP because I'm able to be involved in the small and the large matters in my patient's life, and I can have my own roster. I can work whenever I can. I'm not forced to work nights, and that was good for my family life. As a GP, patients would consider you as family member, and would tell you their joy or suffering or pain, or when the marriage does not work, or when the kids are rebellious. They would come to you if they feel sad or alone. I remember it was not long after I started to work as a GP when a lady was feeling absolutely shaken after her house was broken on an early morning. So she called straight away and booked an emergency appointment. I wasn't sure why she needs it straight away. So a few hours later, I sat with her and I listened to her pain. She just needed someone to tell about her pain of having her house broken. Um, on the other side, as a GP, I can dip my fingers in various specialties. Um, but my special interests are women's health and pediatrics, lifestyle, and I've got a particular interest in dermatology too.
Mm.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. You did just mention that one of your favorite thing is women's health. Um, Dr. Roman, what would be a key advice that you would give to women for their health?
Okay. Um, I think everyone is quite aware of the advice about the lifestyle we are called to have. Sister Wife gave us quite a fair bit of material to read and to digest. I won't go into it tonight. My advice for all women, and that includes me as well, is to learn to care for ourselves.
Mm,
But not at the end when we run out of time and resources, but right from the beginning. Because just in this way, we can look and care better for others, including our families.
yes.
Remember when you put the seatbelt when you go in aeroplane, you'll have to put your seatbelt first in order to be able to help your kids. So same thing. We tend to leave ourselves the last, and it's not always the best thing. Some other important points: keep a soft heart, forgive,
Mm,
live your life unto Christ and Him alone. And another very important one, look at what God has given you and be thankful. Don't be
Mm.
guilty of envy by looking at what others got and you don't have. That's something which unfortunately is in a bigger proportion in women rather than in men. So we need to be
mm,
thankful for what we've got.
love that.
Yeah, thank you. And Dr. Roman, thank you very much for that advice for women's health. But earlier on, you said that you like general practice because you can have a variety of different interests that you have. But is there one particular area of women's health that you would like above, that you're more interested in above others? Because there's lots of areas of women's health, like breast cancer, for instance, pregnancy, all those type of things. Is there a particular area apart from just general health, in women's health that you actually like more than others? Or
Yeah. As I told at the beginning, I started to work in Australia in gynecology and obstetrics. So that is my soft part of medicine. And I do have, I don't do deliveries nowadays anymore, but I used to do them. Um, I still enjoy looking for pregnant patients, the antenatal care. I love seeing the miracle of life as God has left it unfold time and time again with each pregnancy. Um, Another aspect which I'm fascinated about is menopause, when the woman's life completely changes. A new page is turned, and you realize
I know a lot about that.
We won't ask her.
you
Mm,
okay.
yes, mate.
No, I'm only
Yeah,
joking.
Yeah, we
I
realize
know a lot
we
about
don't know
that.
ourselves anymore. The
Mm,
hormones are all over the place, and you would have
mm,
the most colorful palette of emotions and sensations in the same time, from hot flashes to insomnia to dry skin to mood swings to weight gain, and you not longer recognize yourself,
Mm.
and you're left not knowing whether to laugh or to cry. Now,
yeah.
coincidentally, it is the same time when your children move out and you're left with an empty nest. Your life is turned completely upside down, and this lasts quite a few years. So it's a very special time in a woman's life, and they need special attention and understanding in this process.
Yes,
Mm.
so true. I'm really enjoying all that you are saying there. And I'm really enjoying that you're not just saying them, but you're actually living what you are saying. At the beginning of the interview, you talked about how your son was alone and you prioritized being with him and working as a GP so you could spend more time with him. As a doctor, I'm guessing, I mean, everyone's busy these days. If you talk to someone, the first thing is, "How have you been?" "Oh, I'm so busy," you know?
Yeah.
Everyone is busy. But as a doctor, I'm guessing you're even busier. So I have a feeling that you really do a great job about balancing the work and life balance. Can you shed a bit more light how you do that for some women out there that will need some advice on that?
Yeah. I'm a proud wife and mother of two beautiful children, a son and a daughter. And I'm so glad they followed my footsteps. One is a doctor and one is a nurse.
Wow.
Um, Juggling work and family life and me time can be a struggle indeed. I draw my strength and my identity from God. Otherwise, I could not do it by myself. For the past, 20 years or so, I tried to section my week in three folders: 3 days for work, 3 days for family and myself, and 1 day for God. Uh, this formula helped me not just to survive, but to enjoy my life and my family, and also to be able to care for my patients and don't feel guilty about it.
Mm.
But you see, a perfect balance probably you'll never find, but I think it's a reasonable way to deal with things.
Yeah.
Yes,
And I think, I know, even though we're focusing on women today, I like the comment by John Shimai that
I
says
saw that.
men need this advice as well. So
Yes,
that's so
yeah,
true.
that's so
Look,
true.
Dr. Roman, I've got another question for you. Is that in the history of you being a doctor, you know, what is there been an experience that you've had that's made you really really happy, you know, in by being a doctor, something that's just stood out in all the years that you've been a doctor, something that's really, you know, just really hit home?
Um, the task of a doctor is one with high demand for responsibility. The patients fully rely on you. They trust you out of their core. And one of the best things is the feeling of satisfaction of treating someone. I do not have one case or one episode. I've got happy moments at work every single day.
Praise the Lord.
Mm.
Yeah. The satisfaction of helping others is my greatest source of happiness. When you give happiness to others, you are the happiest person at that moment.
Right.
So little things for me counts a lot, like helping someone lose weight and get more out of their life, or coaching someone to quit smoking or drugs or alcohol, or was a great joy of safely delivering a baby into his mother's arms, or helping someone with the battle with diabetes control and achieving the set goals. I don't know, all of these are heights that push me to grow more each week as a clinician and as a person as well. So
No,
lots of joy every day.
It's
I
good.
really like your passion about what you do. I mean, it comes through that of it, like you said before, it's not just a job. You know, it's a ministry for you. That's how I'm feeling. It's a ministry for you. And your patients are so lucky to have you. Have you had any patients, convey to you about the biggest regrets they've had?
Um, Australians are proud persons and proud patients. But unfortunately, I do have patients with regrets. And my biggest regrets for a patient is after refusal of an advice which is in his best interest, let's say. It's a pity when they refuse the advice or help given, or refuse a screening test to prevent or detect some unwanted diagnosis. They would go away and they would live their lives like they are invincible, and
Mm.
nothing bad can happen to them. But after a while, they do come back, and regretfully, sometimes it's too late for some patients for interventions that could significantly lengthen their lives. And at that point, what I can do is just be there for them, hold their hands as their health start to deteriorate, and reassure them that I'm still there with them. And
Yeah.
yeah, probably that's also my advice for women is not to neglect screening tests. um,
Yeah.
um, Cervical smears or mammograms or bowel tests are very important.
Right.
In
Those tests are there for a reason, aren't they?
That's
Yeah,
right. That's
absolutely.
right. That's right. And I have this on a regular basis when my advice is, oh, that's okay. Well, I'll think about it. But yeah, sometimes it's too late. Not many cases, but they are, and I feel really a deep pain in myself when I see what's happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course, because you care for them. That must be hard indeed. Dr. Roman, our final question for you tonight is what can we do? What advice can you give us? What can we do to naturally to help us maintain good health? What are some of the things we can do?
Sorry, is my cat here? Um,
Okay.
Yes.
It's all right.
it's time for her dinner, so she won't let me know. What can we do naturally to help us to maintain good health?
Hmm,
Something which we can all cultivate to improve our physical or mental well-being is contentment. Contentment. Um,
hmm,
uh, to look at ourselves in the mirror and see past the age, the stress, or the deadlines, the wisdom gained at the end of it all, the polishing of our characters by trials and life experience is what made us who we are.
that's right.
We should give ourselves permission to celebrate the past, to be
Yeah, that's
happy for
great
the
news.
present,
I love that. Give us
happy for
permission
the
to
present,
celebrate
and
the
look
past.
forward for the future, and the future we wanted in the presence of Jesus.
Mm.
Um,
Oh, that's fantastic. You go on. Did you want to say something?
Now, I just wanna say that a Christ's burden is light and His yoke is easy. Without Him, we can do nothing. But if we
Mm.
remain in Him, there will be fruit.
Yeah.
If our lives are way down, we must stop and ask ourselves if our lives are marked by simple and pure devotion to Jesus, or by maybe business or striving to meet expectations of what we should or shouldn't be. There is a reason he tells us to shake the dust off our feet. Learn to be okay with rejection as well and move on. That's another advice I wanted to give.
Thank you very much, Dr. Roman. We really appreciate you coming on live this evening.
It's great.
For this program. We really appreciate the advice that you've given us, and we wish you all the best for your practice and the people that you treat.
And I think,
Thank you.
we've so enjoyed you sharing your wisdom with us. We would love to have you on the program again one day, because, women need a lot of encouragement, as you know. And you said a few points that really resonated with me. We've got to take time for ourselves. We've got to put ourselves, first and look after ourselves so we can better look after others. I know so many great moms that, don't do that because they feel guilty about it. So I thank you for, helping us to refocus on those key points that's very important in life of women and men as well, I guess. Yeah. So thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Roman.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Hey, Corine, we're actually going to move on now to our next segment, which is our recipes.
Wonderful.
Let's have that.
Wonderful. Wonder what it will be.
Hi everybody and welcome to Living News recipe segment. My name is Bibi and today I'd like to share with you one of my plant-based burgers. I was told that there's nothing more satisfying than having that fat from that beef burger dripping down your chin. Apparently that's the best thing of eating a meat burger. So with this burger you aren't going to get that, but I promise you are going to win the game on flavor. So for this recipe you can use any beans. I'll choose to mix two different varieties. I'm going to use cannellini beans. I'm killing the name of it, but cannellini beans and chickpeas. Texture that you wanna get, you still will have some chunky pieces in it, and that's what you want. I've got some sun-dried mushrooms here. You just soak them in boiling water, then you drain them and chop them finely. Chopped mushrooms, ginger. I'm not gonna peel it, I'm just gonna grate it with my grater. So throw it into your dish. For the binding ingredients, I will use oats. And you probably think, why is she blending oats? Well, first of all, you don't want to have a whole oat in your burger, right? No one does. So we're going to powderize it. Seeds, or you can call it flax seeds. I will mix it together with our oats. Miso, that's going to add that umami flavor to your burgers. You can smell the ginger and the garlic and the miso, and let it sit for about 10 minutes. We need to make glaze because that's a very important part of these burgers if I want to win the flavor taste on this one. So what we need ginger again. Oops, I forgot my grater. I'll be back. I'm back. So grate your ginger. A little bit of maple syrup. We've got that saltiness, we've got that sweetness in there, we've got to add that lemon. I will put some coating for our burgers in this tray, and I will use natural almond flour. Basically what it is, you just blend your almonds to a powder, and that becomes your coating. Mixture can stick to your hands, so I suggest you just wet your hands a little bit. Not yet, not cooked. I'm gonna put it back into the oven for another 10 minutes. Oops, most importantly, don't burn your buns. I'm ready to assemble. Don't add tomato sauce on your burger, please, for goodness sake. The chef gets super upset when you use tomato sauce because it just takes all the flavour of all the goodness that we put in the burger. So, no tomato sauce. And no barbecue sauce. No other sauce. Alright, cucumber for crunchiness. Some tomatoes. Amazing. Let's see. Let's put it to the test.
Lots of flavour.
Does it win the big burger or not?
Very close race. Very, very nice.
Well, baby, just when we think that you can't outdo the last recipe, you actually do. That looks so good. No sauce, remember everyone, no sauce. Look, for some of you that might want to make this batch or maybe even a smaller batch of this, just let us know. And if you want the recipe, we can, get in touch with BB and get you to send that recipe. That looked good. Come on, that looked good.
It did. You know, Corine, we had part of our people behind the scenes in our studio here. I could hear them saying, that's yum. So, you've impressed our studio technicians here as well and our producer. So,
Thank you, baby, for sharing your creativity with us. And not only does it actually look good, but it's so healthy. I mean, did you see what went in it? Oats and linseeds and all this stuff. Wow. Almonds. We must try.
It's great stuff. So, anybody that makes it, just don't forget to send some my way. Okay? I'll be... Now, Corine, we're going to move on to... we've got another exciting interview.
Wow.
With... I'm not going to actually introduce the person. It's an author, actually, to a book. And so I'm going to ask Sylvia if she'd like to join us. Hi, Sylvia.
Hi, Sylvia.
Hi, Johnny. Hi, Corine. It's nice to be in the studio with you tonight instead of a pre-recorded book review.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you with us live.
Yes, always.
Yeah, I'm really excited actually to be able to do, I guess, a live book review tonight. But even better than that, to be able to do a live book review with the author of the book. I mean, how exciting!
Yeah, that's awesome.
I know.
It's really good,
Yes.
and really the focus of the book as well really fits in well with today's theme.
Yeah, well,
So
I'm
I'm
pretty excited to be able to introduce our author tonight. Our author's name is Suki. And I'm going to bring her into the studio now so you can meet her as well.
All right.
Welcome, Suki.
Hi, Suki. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Oh, that's good.
Well, the book that we're going to, I guess, kind of review and talk about tonight is this wonderful book. I'm going to pop the image up on screen so that everyone can see what we're talking about. The book is called Sisters in Arms. And I'll just remove it again. And I'm also going to hold up the book because I actually have a copy of it. Of course I do.
I like the subtitle of that as well, that book.
Courageous Women of the Reformation is the subtitle. Well, I want to just get to know Suki a little better and ask her a few questions. And so I just thought, I want to actually start right at the beginning. And I just wanted to ask, Suki, what first got you actually interested in writing? Like, did you always want to write a book, or how did this come about?
Actually, I started writing at a very young age. I was probably about 9 when I started writing. I wrote my first short story. I had this little diary I would write and illustrate. And when I shared with my mom that that's what I wanted to do, when I was about maybe 13 or 14, she said, well, at the time there was a magazine that was published by Review and Herald called Insight magazine. So she told me, why don't you write for Insight? And I remember I wrote for Insight, and I had my first article published in Insight just after my 15th birthday. And so I've always wanted to write. I've always that's something that I wanted to do. And then I was sort of on a pause for a bit. And this particular project, I always knew I wanted to write a book, but I think it's always difficult to figure out what you want to write. And but the project, the idea for this project actually came about because of some work that I did for Lineage, which is it's like a educational ministry. We do short videos on history, and so that's where this particular project came from. Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
Suki, I just have to say, if there are some mums out there who have some kids at home who say to you, Mum, I want to write, I just hope they take on board that encouragement that, you know, when you have parents who encourage you to do what you love to do, there is something so special about that. And so I loved that that little piece of information. It's just something that's so encouraging. And I want to talk a little bit about Lineage. And I can tell you that at the church where I attend every Sabbath morning before we actually start, we actually watch a little Lineage video as part of our kind of getting ready for church. It's something to bring us all together before we start with our song service. And like the content is just amazing in these Lineage videos. They are so interesting, and the history that is there. So can you tell us what you do for Lineage? What is the work that you're doing behind the scenes with Lineage?
I run the website. So all of the content on the website I write and post. So that's my job, to make sure that it's populated.
You get to do more writing. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
And I love that you said that it was actually through Lineage, through the work that you do with Lineage, that you were inspired to write this book,
Yes.
Sisters in Arms.
Yes.
So I'm going to do the little shameless plug now, which normally I would record and share with our viewers, but I wanted to share with the viewers what I really loved about this book. And I loved that you've got these 8 women in here, and we'll talk about them a little bit more in a moment. I loved the point of view, the perspective. So the way that you wrote, it just drew you straight into the character, and you felt like you were one with the character. I loved the detail that you added, and I know, like, you know, it says that yes, it's historical, but there's a little bit of creative license, you know, of course, to tell the story, which I love. But I actually love that these women are real women. And when I say real, I don't just mean they existed at some point in time, but they actually are real in the struggles and in some of the doubts and in their faith journey. And I think you bring that out in the writing so beautifully. And so I just, for those who are watching, if you haven't yet picked up a copy of this book, I really want to encourage you to grab it. And like I said, the stories, they just grip you from those opening sentences when you realize that it is being written from, you know, the character's perspective, from the woman's perspective, and what she goes through. And so I really fell in love with your writing, Suki. I'll be honest. The book sat on my shelf for a little while because it was sent to me along with, you know, not that you can see all the books sitting behind me, but I don't know how many books end up on my shelf and on my Kindle that I never know how I'm going to fit reading them. But this one sat with me for a while, and I'm so glad I finally opened it and started reading.
Hey, Suki, I was going to butt in.
And I knew...
Go on.
I knew John Shearmeyer was going to send a message about Lineage because I know how much he loves it. So I'm glad.
Yes. It's a great program. Great.
Suki, at the beginning I said that the subtitle of the book is about the courageous women during the Reformation. A lot of people may not know about the Reformation. Look at 2 parts to this question. Can you just explain a little bit about the Reformation, but also, you know, why is it that women don't get mentioned much in the Reformation? You hear often of, you know, Martin Luther, John Huss, Wycliffe, and all these gentlemen in the Reformation, but you really don't hear about women. So if you could explain about the Reformation and about women in the Reformation, why they're not mentioned.
Yeah, so the Reformation is basically a religious movement, a spiritual movement that took place during the 16th century. So at that time in Europe was extremely densely populated, was one of the obviously the place to be, kind of. The New World hadn't been discovered, America hadn't been discovered, China and Asia, they were still tucked in the East. Everything was happening to a great extent in Europe. And there was only one church and one religious system, but there was a lot of corruption. There was a lot of deviation from biblical principle. There was a lot of error. And a result of that was that the people were suffering. The people were suffering under false perceptions of who God was and what happened after they died. And the people were forced to put the opinions of a man, the Pope, who was who was the leader of the church at the time, the Pope, as the put his opinions over the Word of God. And so you had this movement that wanted to, originally with Martin Luther, it really began with people like Luther and Zwingli. Originally, what they wanted to do was reform the church, but the church refused to be reformed. And so instead, they broke away and they decided to just reform Christendom or Christianity in general. And so the Reformation was really this push towards getting people to know the truth through the Word of God, instead of obeying the Pope and the Church, which had a huge monopoly at the time. It led people back to the Bible, led people back to salvation by faith. Why was it that there aren't many women mentioned? Well, during early modern Europe, women didn't really have much of a say in any aspect of life. Women in general were really only useful for one thing, which was to get married and have children. Even the queen of a country was only as useful as she was able to produce the next heir. Women were not, far from having, they didn't have any say in political matters. They were not allowed to work. If they worked, they had to work under the male of the household. Women were not even allowed to live by themselves. In Germany, especially during that time, and I write about this in my book, if you're a woman, you couldn't just decide to live alone. You had to have a male sponsor. And so women were really powerless during that time. So, what's really amazing is that there were women that wrote and that made a difference, even at a time when it was so difficult for women to do so. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to write the book. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I like that. There must be very, very, very resilient women, and you chose actually eight
Yes.
women to actually bring some light on their lives in this book. Suki, do you actually have a favorite one? And if you do, why? And who is it and why?
My favorite one is Louise de Coligny. She's, I think, number 4 or 5 in the book. Why is she my favorite? Only because Louise de Coligny went through just an amazing amount of trauma in her life from a very young age. She got married at 16 or 17. She got married at 16, actually. And at 17, she claims to have seen in her letters her father killed in front of her eyes. Her husband of a year died. She escaped France during that time, all because she was a Protestant, all because she chose to believe in the Bible, She escaped from France to Switzerland, which even at that time was neutral. Switzerland is still neutral. They were neutral even at that time. They helped a lot of refugees. When she escaped, the French crown, which was Catholic, wrote to her. She was a Huguenot. That was the name that they gave French Protestants. It was a degradatory term. They wrote to her and told her, if you recant your faith, if you say you're not a Protestant anymore, come back to the church, go for mass, we will restore your property, because they'd confiscated a lot of her property. And she refused, even though she had lost so much. She said, you can have the property, you won't shake my faith. And then she married William of Orange, who was a prince, the Prince of the Netherlands. He's the one that basically, he's the father of the modern Dutch Republic. That's why the Dutch teams wear orange, in case you wonder why Dutch teams wear orange in honor of William of Orange. Thought I'll throw that tidbit in there. But anyway, she married William of Orange. Now you know why all the Dutch teams were orange. So she married William of Orange, and he was also assassinated. He was a reformer. He was assassinated by a Catholic assassin because he had a bounty on his head, and she watched him bleed out in front of her. And despite all of this trauma, she was still faithful to God. And she had such a massive hand in the later Dutch Reformation. And so I thought, for a woman to be able to go through so much trauma and to still be faithful, to still not throw in the towel and say, God, I'm not going to believe in you anymore because I was following you, I was faithful to you, I am doing the right thing, and yet trauma upon trauma upon trauma, her faith amazes me. Louise's faith, it's really, really humbling. So she's my favorite. She's my favorite.
Fantastic.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Suki, I can just see your passion as you, share that story with us, and I see how she, in many ways, has inspired you. Is there anything else that you find? I mean, as you researched and explored and discovered these, and uncovered these stories, what do you hope will inspire others? I suppose
there's 3 reasons that I wrote the book. The first was because I wanted to highlight the issue of religious liberty and freedom of conscience, because I think that that's a really important thing. When you study the Bible, especially when you study Bible prophecy, we know that religious liberty is one of the key issues that has always plagued the church from the time of the Reformation, even now. And it will be an issue just before Jesus comes. We know that when we study Bible prophecy. And when I looked at the history of the Reformation, I understood that this was such a massive issue then. It was an issue that people didn't understand, but it was an issue that I wanted to highlight because I believe that as Christians today, Christians that believe in and study Bible prophecy, we are going to face or we are facing issues of religious liberty and freedom of conscience. And I thought there were lessons that we could draw from how those Christians stood.
Well, you just actually took the word. You actually, the segue to a question I was going to ask you actually is about this religious liberty and freedom, and what can we learn from these people for today? Because we can see a lot of things happening in the world today. And we can see that religious freedom could be an issue, and it is already an issue in some countries. What can we learn from these people for us today?
I think in the book, I highlighted a few issues. The first issue was how these women had the courage to stand for what was right, even at great personal loss, even in the face of great personal loss. And that's those were the second and third issues that I wanted to look at: courage and faith. How often standing for God, standing for the truth takes tremendous courage and tremendous faith. And so one thing that we can learn today is to be unashamed of who we are and what we believe in, even if that means being ridiculed or something greater. The second thing that I highlighted in one of the stories, the story of Catherine Parr, is, it's this idea where Jesus tells us that we need to be as wise as serpents, but as harmless as doves. And in the story of Catherine Parr, it's the one before the last story, she was able to really divide the issues. With her, in her case, the issue wasn't so much her faith. It was really being able to wisely navigate a really difficult situation. And she was really wise, she could have made some foolish choices, but she didn't. And I think when you think about freedom and religious liberty, on one hand, we need to be unashamed. We need to be unashamed of who we are and what we believe in. But we also need to be wise to know when to speak and how to speak. So that, there's some opportunity, there's some situations that God places us in where if we are tactful and if we're wise, we might be able to not just escape adverse circumstances, but go on to serve more effectively. But there are some positions that God places us in that if we don't stand, we are denying Jesus. And we need the wisdom to be able to tell the difference between the two. That was one thing that I really wanted to look at in the book. The wisdom to know when to stand, and when to not retreat, but when to be wise and tactful in how we deal with the situation. And I think that's really.
I think that's really good because it's very easy, even in our society, when there's so much Facebook and Instagram that pushes ideas onto people. It's easy to get drawn in to whatever the majority of people are doing, and we could lose that sense of being wise as serpents. So I really think that's a great point that you brought up, and it's a good lesson for us to learn, and not to get caught into the trends that are happening. Yeah, thanks.
I love, just before we wind up with the last question, I just wanted to comment, on this idea of courage and faith. When we think of courage, sometimes we think of, the soldier, the fighter, the warrior. And yet what you highlight in these stories is that the courage that we find in these women as they simply stand. Don't back down. And I think, it's such a refreshing look at courage through a completely different lens. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah. So and there was a vulnerable group of people at that time.
No power, no voice, and yet courageous. Yeah. All right, Suki, this is my last question for this evening. Are there any new projects bubbling away? Are you working on anything new?
Yeah, actually, I just completed a manuscript and sent it to Science. It's with them to decide what they want to do with it. So it's another book on the Reformation. At this stage, it's since I've only sent in my first draft of the manuscript, I don't know what form it's going to take, but the gist of the book is looking at turning points in the Reformation. How not just turning points, it's called Intersection. That's my working title. It might change, but it's called Intersection, Turning Points from the Reformation. It's looking at the stories of this one is the heavyweights of the Reformation, well-known people, but really looking at how lesser-known people or how family or friends or people in their lives impacted their decisions, and the importance of how we're all connected and how we influence each other for good or for evil, how our influence can prove to be the turning point in someone's life. The themes that I look at.
Awesome.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. And I love that. That made me think of Barnabas, actually. We often talk about Paul, and Barnabas is this little person in the background, but he was the big encourager that actually at times turned the tide. So I love the idea of those intersecting stories that could help people pivot. Well, I want to say thank you so much for taking time out to join us this evening and just sharing your passion with us. That, to me, like I said, just watching you talk about Louise in particular, to see how she inspired you and just that passion that you have for her story. And I see that in the writing, in the narrative, in the way that you present each lady. Sometimes young girls, they're not fully grown, mature old women. These are young women who had to be brave and courageous. And I just thank you so much for sharing your gift with us and sharing your time with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Suki. Really appreciated it.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Corine,
over to you.
Thank you, Sylvia.
You know what? I was thinking, thank you, Sylvia. That was wonderful. I was thinking, Suki is our first author who we've had on the show. Yeah. Maybe we should get her to autograph a book and give it maybe to one of our viewers. Maybe
that'd be great. That'd be great if we can get Suki to autograph a book. Sylvia, if you could just bring up that picture of that book again, just to remind people what it looked like, and that Sisters in Arms, awesome book there, courageous women in the during the Reformation, and so that's awesome.
Yeah, what I like is that, there's a lot of things I learned from this interview. These women could have had a lot of excuses to not do what they did. They had no voice, but yet we're still talking about them today. Do you know what I mean? For their courage. And there's still those women here today. And we wanted to share this book so that you too are encouraged about being resilient, no matter what life throws at you.
If you haven't read the book, get onto your favorite bookstore and grab one, read it, and be encouraged by it. So yes, we're actually going to hear from another lady, female, woman, whatever you pronounce it, whatever it is. It's a song that she's going to sing, and it's Corine Waterstone. Has put together this song, and will be singing it to us. And so we'd like to go to that now. Thank you.
That's a lovely song. It's almost a prayer song. Inviting Jesus to come in your heart, and that's just beautiful, Corina. I love your voice. I love the message in your song as well.
Thank you, Corina.
Thank you so much. We have so many talented women, that have come on today to share so many things, and the program is just to encourage you, to take time for yourself. One of the advice of Dr. Roman, to actually be resilient, from Suki, the author, looking at, the women in the book. And I And to think about Louise as well, Louise de Coligny. I think I've said that right, Louise de Coligny. I want to share something from the Word of God as we're nearly going to finish off. And it says, Christ, and talking about the song that Karina just sang so beautifully, Christ will make his home in your hearts as you trust in him. Your roots will grow down in God's love and keep you strong. These women from the time of Reformation, their roots was in Christ and they were strong.
And I think, Corinne, that's what Dr. Roman mentioned about is, that foundation in Christ is what keeps her going.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, it's been a great program.
Thank you. I did. Look, for those that didn't see, at the bottom of the screen there was mention that Suki will be at the Adventist Book Centre in Nuttawading. It's on Central Road in Blackburn or Nuttawading. And she'll be there between 10 and 2 this Sunday to sign the book. If you want to go and purchase one, she'll be there to sign the book for you. So that's wonderful. Thank you, Suki, for doing that. I really appreciate it. Now, for our audience, we hope you've enjoyed our program today. We're looking forward to episode 5. We've got some really good things lined up for episode 5, which will be at the beginning of April in about 4 or 5 weeks' time. So we're looking forward to that. But also, don't forget, folks, to subscribe to our channel. And there you go. If you're on Facebook, you can just see it there. Just press follow.
I like when you do that.
and don't forget to share it over there and to like our thing. And if you're on YouTube, watching from YouTube, because we have a lot of viewers on YouTube as well. So don't forget on YouTube, press subscribe. And also, if you press the bell on YouTube, it will also give you a heads up next time for our next program in advance. So don't forget to do that and share this with other people so that other people can benefit from the good news that Living News provides. Absolutely. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Corinne, again for hosting.
Oh, thank you, Johnny.
So we look forward to catching up with everyone next time.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone that's been involved, visitors, a host in the back. Yep. Yeah, it's been great.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
See ya.